How fitting it is that Airport Cities is being held here in Denver, since Mayor Hancock, as John mentioned, is dedicated to transforming the area surrounding the Denver airport into one that will drive job growth and economic development for the community. Airports need the full collaboration and cooperation of different stakeholders, including government, business, community, and civic leaders. This mindset in Denver stands out as a model for community leaders around the world if airports are to be allowed to fully assume their proper place as engines of economic and social development. I extend a thank you to Mayor Hancock for his leadership and vision. Now, in the time I have, I want to talk a little bit about ACI as a worldwide organization, bring you some facts and figures, and then tell you what we are doing to support the evolution of airports as they expand their role from infrastructure providers to self-determined businesses in their own right. Simply put, ACI's mission is to promote the collective interests of the world's airports and the communities they serve, and to promote professional excellence in airport operations and management. Our 577 members operate 1,689 airports that represent 95% of the world's passenger traffic in 170 countries. Working side by side other industry stakeholders, we strive for a safe, secure, and sustainable air transportation system that enables aviation to serve as a driver of tourism, trade, and economic vitality for communities around the world. ACI consists of a world office in Montreal and 5 regional offices in Africa, Asia Pacific, which includes the Middle East, Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, and North America. I'm world, Greg is North America. Each ACI regional office has a governing board that deals directly with the issues and regulatory bodies specific to that region, while ACI World deals with global issues and global regulatory bodies like the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and the World Health Organization, among others. Over the past 20 years, airports have evolved from being simply public sector infrastructure providers into sophisticated, business-oriented service providers. This transformation has occurred mainly as a result of the realization by governments around the world that airports are major engines of socioeconomic growth for the territories they serve, and that with the right management in place, airports can be run efficiently and in many instances be self-sufficient. The uptake of the airport cities concept is one manifestation of the evolving nature of the airport business. It's a model that recognizes that an airport can do more than just perform its traditional aeronautical services. While revenue structures may vary from one region to the next, non-aeronautical revenue now represents almost half of the industry's total revenues. Indeed, airports worldwide are increasingly focusing on the generation of non-aeronautical revenues as a result of both the more commercial focus in airport management and, as John alluded to, the increasingly competitive nature of the airport business, which places downward pressure on aeronautical charges and the resulting pressure to increase revenues from other sources. Although retail remains the largest contributor to non-aeronautical revenues worldwide, according to the 2011 ACI Economic Survey, property income and rent is the second most important source of commercial income to airports. Car parking and real estate represent 52% of total non-aeronautical revenues. In Latin America, Caribbean, and Europe, we see this figure respectively representing 18 and 26%. For Asia, we see 31%, and in Africa, it's 40%. Of course, traffic volume is the main driver of airport revenue. ACI has forecast worldwide passenger traffic to almost double between now and 2029. That's from 5 billion today to about 11 billion at that time. Demand for air travel is mainly driven by 3 key factors: GDP per capita, population growth, and propensity to travel by air. More affordable air transport is definitely having a positive influence on the propensity to travel by air. And particularly, we see a growing middle class in the emerging economies of Asia and Latin America who are benefiting from the liberalization of air transport and the expansion of low-cost carriers. This slide shows the relationship between GDP and the propensity to travel, defined as the number of airplane trips per capita. If we look at North America, we see modest growth in GDP in the US and 4.3 airline passengers per capita, which is the highest in the world. With the region's growth fairly low, we can figure that we won't see much growth in the propensity to fly. We'll see growth in air travel caused by growth in population. In Europe, we see modest GDP growth and a lower propensity to fly than in North America, with higher forecasted traffic growth than in the US at least. We show here in the GDP forecast some wide differences among the European Union countries, the Eastern European countries, and the Russia CIS countries. Airport capacity is still very much needed in Europe, as it is in North America, to handle current demand as well as future growth. Looking at the Middle East, we see moderate GDP growth of about 3.7% forecast for the 2012 to 2016 period, and currently a low propensity to fly of 1.46, which is a strong indicator of future growth in traffic. In fact, passenger traffic is forecast, as you see here, to grow at 6.6% per year from 2009 to 2014. Dubai, Doha, and Abu Dhabi hubs are among the fastest growing airports in the world. Dubai in particular illustrates how quickly this region is growing. In 2000, it was the 80th busiest passenger airport in the world. In 2010, it was 14th. Looking at Latin America, Caribbean, we can see a low propensity to fly, 0.7 trips per capita, moderate GDP growth, and over 6% forecasted passenger and cargo growth through 2014, and another 5% annually through 2029. In Brazil alone, accommodating this growth will require airport capital investments of $19 billion through 2030. Do not overlook Africa. Over the next 5 years, the average African economy will outpace Asia in terms of GDP growth. Annual airport investment needs in sub-Saharan Africa up to 2015 are some $800 million per year. The forecasted average annual growth in the 2009 to 2014 period for Africa as a whole is 6.6% for passenger traffic and 4.5% for cargo traffic. Through 2025, Africa's average yearly GDP growth is also set to outpace GDP growth in most other world regions. Considering the vast geographical spread of Africa, its many borders, and the currently low propensity to fly of 0.16, we can expect to see a lot of growth in Africa. Then lastly, taking a look at Asia Pacific, well, it will overtake North America as the world's largest aviation area with 1.7 billion passengers. If we look specifically at China and India, GDP growth is forecast at 7% and 6.4% respectively between 2012 and 2016. Across Asia Pacific as a whole, average annual growth for the 2009 to 2014 period is forecast at 8.3% for passengers and 8% for cargo. In the next 10 years, China will need $96 billion US in new airport infrastructure just to keep pace with demand. To put this into perspective, in China, there are now 130 airports with regular commercial service. In the US, there are 400. So, across the globe, we are seeing major investments in infrastructure projects to meet the sustained demand for air travel. According to our 2011 economic survey, airports are investing some $135 billion US over the next 3 years. That does not include the Middle East, and it only includes 2 airports in mainland China. They'll be building 5 to 8 airports a year. This all leads to more governments calling upon the private sector for the development of aeronautical infrastructure, be it in the form of outright privatizations or public-private partnerships. A wide range and variety of airport ownership and governance models have proven to be successful. Private sector participation in owning or governing airports can be found in different countries around the world. At the most extreme level, 25 airport companies are listed on stock exchanges, of which 5 companies are Chinese, 3 are Mexican, 2 from Southeast Asia, and the rest being in Australasia and Europe. However, many airports around the world are still viewed by their governments as mere providers of infrastructure. Their regulations have not followed the evolution of airports to that of diversified businesses and community partners. At the moment, ACI World is working in both India and Brazil, where those countries are developing regulatory frameworks in the wake of privatizing some of their airports. We try to get involved as early as we can so we can provide input to get the regulations structured in a way that enables their airports to attract the capital they need to satisfy the country's objective to have their airports serve as economic engines. Through all the different governance regimes around the globe, we increasingly see that airport leaders comprise an active community that pursues airport excellence and are committed to advancing both their aeronautical and non-aeronautical offerings. That pursuit is part of the evolution towards self-determination, and self-determination entails holding oneself accountable. As an organization, our service offerings reflect this evolution. ACI has responded to its members with a series of programs that assist them in achieving excellence and accountability. So I want to talk about some of those. First, our newest and most ambitious program, Airport Excellence and Safety, APEX, which is designed to help airports worldwide identify and address safety vulnerabilities. It is built on the tradition of airports helping each other through peer reviews and mentoring. Apex and Safety matches a host airport that wants to be reviewed by their peers with an airport safety partner who provides one or more of their staff experts. Any airport can benefit from a safety partner, whether it's to get help on implementing SMS or developing a runway safety team. APEX provides the necessary framework for airports around the world to benefit from and lend the knowledge and experience of their safety experts in identifying and prioritizing the actions that individual airports can take to reduce risk. Secondly, many of you are familiar with the Airport Service Quality Program, ASQ, which is a standardized passenger satisfaction evaluation tool. It allows airports to benchmark themselves against other airports or themselves over time on a set of facilities, services, and processes. It is looked at by some regulators and airport owners that have privatized their airports as the objective evaluation for their airport operators' customer service performance. The airport operator is the catalyst in bringing together the many stakeholders who engage with the airport's customers. Indeed, the review of quarterly ASQ data at many airports has become a critical meeting in which all stakeholders take responsibility for their interface with the passenger. We have just introduced ASQ Retail at the request of current users, which focuses on the airport's food, beverage, and retail revenue. Airport managers get in-depth information about shopper profiles, purchasing behavior, and seasonal variations in traffic patterns. It can be used to better understand the individual characteristics of retail operations and identify areas that lend themselves to improvement. A large part of self-determination, accountability, and pursuit of excellence is professional development. Increasingly, the world's airport leaders from every corner of the globe are concerned about the coming shortage of airport managers and professionals as both the demand for human resources grows with the growth in air service demand and the supply dwindles with the impending retirement of the baby boomers. As a result, ACI has developed a fleet of training programs designed to meet those challenges, ranging from individual competency courses, our recently launched online airside operations course, through to management development, including the Airport Management Professional Accreditation Program, AMPAP, which we run jointly with ICAO, and the Airport Executive Leadership Program, AELP, which can be taken as part of AMPAP or on a standalone basis. So let me end by noting that airports have journeyed a long way from being simply providers of infrastructure to fully fledged engines of economic and social development. However, to fully realize the potential, economic regulatory interventions should be strategic and provide the right economic incentives to ensure investments are made to accommodate demand. I wish you a terrific conference and exhibition, and I thank you for your attention.